William Arthur Philip Louis, wilt thou have this woman to thy wedded wife, to live together according to God's law in the holy estate of matrimony? Wilt thou love her, comfort her, honor and keep her, in sickness and in health, and forsaking all other keep thee only unto her, so long as ye both shall live?
I think fundamentally, the public really liked the fact that Kate came from a normal background. She wasn't an aristocrat.
He chose St Andrews University, and so, by chance, did Kate Middleton. And that, of course, where they were both first-year students, freshers, that's where they met. And if there is one word which sums up their relationship, I think it's one of respect.
Prince William and Kate Middleton's relationship has captured the hearts and minds of people from all over the world.
Never before have members of the royal family been seen in the same way as we view celebrities, but Kate and William are a very good-looking pair, and because they come across so down-to-earth, I think we're viewing them in a completely different way.
From their time at St Andrews University to the current day, William and Kate's romance has transformed into a steadfast devotion to one another, as well as royal life. With Britain entering a new era of the monarchy, we follow their journey from the early years to now, as the couple pave their way as the modern Prince and Princess of Wales. This is William and Kate, becoming the Prince and Princess of Wales. On the 8th of September 2022, Buckingham Palace announced the death of Her Majesty the Queen. As the longest reigning monarch in British history, Queen Elizabeth II's passing has affected the lives of many.
A few moments ago, Buckingham Palace announced the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. The palace has just issued this statement. It says the Queen died peacefully at Balmoral this afternoon.
The British people, as well as the world as a whole, were shaken by the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. As the news filtered across the globe, people travelled far and wide to pay their respects to Her Majesty the Queen.
Well, this is a desperately sad day for all of us here in this country, but also across the Commonwealth and the world, because the Queen was respected around the world. She had given a lifetime of service, and her devotion to duty was an example and inspiration for us all.
The mounds of flowers and gifts symbolised how much the public valued Queen Elizabeth II's 70 years of devoted service.
On behalf of all my family, I can only offer the most sincere and heartfelt thanks for your condolences and support. They mean more to me than I can ever possibly express. And to my darling Mama, as you begin your last great journey to join my dear late Papa, I want simply to say this: thank you.
The death of Her Majesty the Queen once more reunited the royal family for a period of mourning. Harry and Meghan travelled to join Prince William and Kate as they greeted crowds of mourners in Windsor.
William and Kate, Harry and Meghan, in the same place at the same time. Given how bad their rift had become, many wondered if they'd ever be able to meet together in private, let alone like this. This week, however, they are sharing the common pain of losing the grandmother they loved. It was, according to a royal source tonight, Prince William who asked his brother if he and Meghan would join them here. And both sides clearly agreed that their family, perhaps also the nation right now, needed to see this.
It has been reported that Prince William's walk behind the Queen's coffin brought back memories of his mother's death in 1997. However, the newly titled Prince of Wales remained steady and dutiful as he followed his beloved grandmother on her final journey. It is often said that Her Majesty the Queen was a constant in a rapidly changing modern world.
I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and to the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong.
She always made it clear that no matter how bad things might look or feel, she'd seen worse. And she knew that the country was strong enough to come through it well. And so in a way, if the job of the Prime Minister is really to fortify the people of the country with that knowledge, the Prime Minister sometimes gets that strength and that conviction from the Queen.
Prince William and Kate relied heavily on the late Queen's wisdom, often seeking warm words of advice and guidance. The new monarch, King Charles III, passed down the titles of Prince and Princess of Wales to William and Kate in his first televised speech. The bestowal of the title was both emotional and profound, welcoming in a new era of royal life for William and Kate.
Today, I am proud to create him Prince of Wales, Tywysog Cymru, the country whose title I've been so greatly privileged to bear during so much of my life and duty. With Catherine beside him, our new Prince and Princess of Wales will, I know, continue to inspire and lead our national conversations, helping to bring the marginal to the centre ground, where vital help can be given.
It has been 64 years since the last investiture of the Prince of Wales, a title King Charles III has held for the majority of his life, and one he shared with the late Princess Diana after their marriage in 1981. The role of Princess of Wales has been synonymous with William's mother for decades. With a modern era of monarchy underway, Kate is sure to both respect Diana's memory and create a new path for the role. At the time of the announcement of their engagement, Prince William and Kate Middleton were often featured in newspapers and gossip magazines, more so than any other royal couple. The eyes of the world have watched Prince William grow into a loving husband and father, all whilst maintaining a deep dedication to his public role. His humble, caring, and devoted nature make him, perhaps, the nation's favourite prince.
I think William and Kate, over the years, have had a very healthy relationship. I think Kate, feels William's jolly lucky to have her. It's not all the other way round, that she's married her prince. So I think it's a marriage of equals.
Prince William has got such a solid kind of grounding, really, in the eyes of the press. I think the press and the public really admire him. They think he's very grown up. He had to grow up very quickly, particularly after the death of his mother. He's definitely the mature one between him and his brother Prince Harry. And I just think there's a great deal of admiration and respect for him, yet people feel that there's a connection with him. It's not like he's one of those members of the royal family who seems so distant from the public and so far removed. He genuinely seems like he really cares about the public.
He is very, very normal, very, very pleasant person to speak to. And he knows, just I think like his mother, Princess Diana, he knows how to put people at ease very quickly, and he'll look people in the eye and he'll use their Christian names a lot. And he's at pains really to kind of connect with people on a one-to-one level, which again, as a prince, that speaks volumes.
Since their first meeting in 2001, Prince William and Kate Middleton's relationship has grown ever stronger. Despite having come from very different backgrounds, their bond as a couple seems to be unbreakable.
I think probably one of the reasons that Kate and William found they had such a bond together, particularly on his side, was the fact that they had kind of quite very different backgrounds. He obviously had his parents had gone through a divorce, and then he had the tragic death of his mother, whereas she was quite an ordinary girl by all accounts. She lived a quite idyllic life, her family got on very well, it was all very harmonious, and it was almost like she brought something new to the table for William, and so he found a bit of solace in the fact that she had such a tightly knit family. He really enjoyed going to visit her parents at weekends, and I think that probably gave him something that he didn't have from his own family.
With Kate Middleton now dating a prince and rapidly becoming one of the world's most recognizable faces, the paparazzi and the tabloids had a decision to make. Would they respect her privacy, or give her the same obsessive and intrusive treatment as Princess Diana, which ended in devastating circumstances?
She supports him. She is not out there to outshine him in any way. And one of the great problems with Charles and Diana's marriage was that Diana became a superstar and she loved it. Kate, I think, has played a much better hand, really. But she was older, the fame didn't shoot to her head, and she had a family who kept her grounded, which Diana never had.
William and Harry are acutely aware of where things went wrong in the press in their early life. And there's an argument, quite a strong one, to suggest that the wheels so spectacularly fell off Diana's life and her public image, and how she was portrayed in the press and how she was pursued by journalists and photographers, that contributed to her tragic demise. And I think what you have with William is a guy who has learned lessons And there's really nothing any of those grey-suited men from Clarence House could genuinely tell William that he doesn't already know about the press. And he understands the media. He understands that as a royal, you're never going to be elected. But that doesn't mean that public opinion isn't incredibly important to you and your longevity. And William, I think, really understands that. He gets it. He is very, very open and willing to forge relationships with the press. But he wants it on his terms, and he does not want a repeat of what we saw with Princess Diana.
Prince William and Kate Middleton's romance is a story that has fascinated the public. But to truly understand their unique and magical journey, we have to go back to where it all started. Catherine Elizabeth Middleton was born on the 9th of January 1982 in Reading, Berkshire. She grew up in what was considered to be a perfect family environment, alongside her brother, James, and her sister, Pippa.
Her father, who was a pilot and worked for British Airways with the rank of captain, and her mother, who was a flight attendant, was quite clearly an ambitious young girl, growing up in Southall, which is not a salubrious suburb, where it's more or less like living under the flight path at John F. Kennedy Airport in New York. She could look up when she was a child and see the big glamorous airplanes landing. And she thought to herself, I'm going to be a flight attendant. And she ended up as a flight attendant, and she ended up meeting a pilot, and she ended up marrying him. And there's definitely ambition in the family of the best sort, a bootstrap operation. But they were not poor, they never were. He was always on a pilot's salary. But they set out to make their own company. Party pieces, they saw a niche in the market. And what they did is what good parents have always done. They've invested in education. It cost them a lot of money. They sent all of their 3 children to good schools. In the case of Kate, to Marlborough School, which is one of the top public schools, which means private in British terms, schools, where she did quite well. And I think she had one of those childhoods where there was a lot of happiness, there was a lot of family feeling. And I think that that is what attracted William to her.
As Kate's early years were proving to be idyllic, Prince William's childhood was plagued by tragedy. William Arthur Philip Louis, the first child of the Prince and Princess of Wales, was born at St Mary's Hospital, London, on the 21st of June 1982. His arrival triggered front-page headlines around the world, and a future King of England was soon presented to an adoring public. William's brother, Prince Harry, was born on the 15th of September 1984.
I remember saying to Princess Diana on one occasion when her son was getting taller and taller, I said, you've bred some height into the royal family. And she said, yes, and good looks, and good looks. And what she was talking about was the introduction of her family, the Spencers, into a very tight royal gene pool. And the result was 2 good-looking sons.
Home life was difficult for William and Harry, as both of them were born into a marriage already facing enormous pressure and divided by differing ideas on love and duty. Their parents separated and later divorced, but things declined from bad to worse as the boys faced a challenging childhood.
The Prince and Princess of Wales are to separate. Buckingham Palace said the decision was reached amicably and the couple have no plans for divorce. The palace said no third parties are involved.
We have reports from Paris that Diana, Princess of Wales, has been killed in a car accident and that her partner, Dodi Fayed, has also been killed. They were apparently being pursued by paparazzi on 2 motorcycles.
William was just 15 years old, and his brother Harry only 12, when their mother was tragically killed in a car accident in Paris, whilst being pursued by the paparazzi. There was worldwide sympathy for the two brothers, as their grief was played out so publicly in the media spotlight.
She talked endlessly of getting away from England, mainly because of the treatment that she received at the hands of the newspapers. I don't think she ever understood why her genuinely good intentions were sneered at by the media, why there appeared to be a permanent quest on their behalf to bring her down.
As a result of Princess Diana's tragic death, the British tabloids made the decision to respect William and Harry's complete privacy during their further education, allowing them as near a normal life as possible during that vital part of their lives. This decision helped William and Kate's relationship blossom naturally throughout their university days, away from the eye of the media. Kate Middleton's relationship with Prince William was first revealed to the British public when William decided to take her on a family skiing trip to Klosters in Switzerland, a favourite haunt of his father's for skiing holidays.
So, Prince William, romance clearly in the air here. Could there be another wedding perhaps on the card sometime soon?
No, I don't think so. In April 2005, William took the decision to take Kate Middleton, his new girlfriend as she was then, on the skiing holiday with her father and with Prince Charles in Klosters in Switzerland. Now, of course, the fact that 2 years in a row, suddenly this pretty brunette that we didn't know anything about was being brought on a holiday again with Prince Charles and William, that caused massive media attention. There was a frenzy, frankly, and just about every skiing photographer across the Alps rushed to Klosters to try and get pictures of Kate. On that holiday, I met up with William and Kate and Harry in a nightclub in Klosters quite late at night, but we had a long chat, and William wanted to know, quite bizarrely really, I thought it would be obvious, but he wanted to know why all of a sudden there was just this enormous media storm around his little skiing holiday in the Alps. And of course I found myself in a position where I was having to explain to William, who I'm sure knows better than I did, that we were naturally interested in a girl that frankly can be a future Queen of England. And you know, I think he understood it, but I think he wanted me to tell him.
William and Kate both graduated in 2005, with William achieving a Scottish Master of Arts degree with upper second-class honours. The news made the front pages around the world. William and Kate began to explore what their lives would be like following university. Prince William's career and his life of duty had been planned ahead, but for Kate, it was no easy task. She joined the English retail chain Jigsaw, but she was distracted, and her focus of attention was quickly pulled away from her professional commitments to the young prince. Following the British royal family's tradition of military training and connection, William undertook his basic army training and later graduated from the prestigious Royal Military Academy for Officers. He later joined the Royal Air Force, and it was here that William developed his love for flying, a passion he shared with both his father and his grandfather, each of them having flown fixed-wing as well as helicopters.
She could kind of base her entire life around being William's professional girlfriend. I think this kind of thing got her the nickname Weighty Katie, because a lot of young women felt that she'd really sublimated any life of her own to run around like his lackey. And yet, the job description of William's wife, or William's fiancée, is very much along those lines. And I think Kate was showing the royal family and William that she was ready and willing to do what was required of her to fill that role.
The next chapter in the royal love story was a shock to the British public, with the news that William and Kate had split up in April 2007. Gossip as to why they had this short break sheds very little light on the real reasons. But it is clear that the paparazzi hounded Kate on a daily basis. The privacy of their university years did not extend to their working lives in London.
I think everybody assumed that Prince William and Kate Middleton were going to get married. They were going to stay together forever. They'd been together for a substantial amount of time. And then when they split, it made you realise just actually they are human beings. They're going through a very public breakup. There was pictures of Prince William cavorting about with some girl in Bournemouth near Bovington where he was in the army. And you just thought, Kate Middleton must hate this. And she's got to remain dignified throughout. I don't think then anyone expected them to actually get back together because you thought they'd split up for a reason. So when they did get back together, you knew that it was serious stuff.
He certainly thought it was over. He went around saying, well, I'm free. And she said to her friends, it's all over with William. But it's interesting that he then realised, and it must have been him, that he was not going to do better than Kate Middleton. And he rebuilt the bridges between them because it was not something she could do. She had been dumped, essentially. And he then came back to her. And I think she said in an interview, you learn a lot about yourself. And she had endured it. And it was fairly public. It was known about. But she didn't complain.
With the royal romance now back on track, the couple put the short break behind them and started looking to their future together. With the media now speculating that Kate would eventually marry into the royal family, they started making the inevitable comparisons between Kate and Princess Diana.
Kate, whether she likes it or not, is going to be compared to Diana in terms of being a fashion icon. I don't think she has got quite the same flair for experimenting as Diana possibly did, but there's no doubt, you know, she's marrying the heir to the throne, so there's all sorts of designers who are going to be desperate for her to be wearing their clothes.
I think William will try and do everything he can to make sure that there are no similarities. I mean, what we saw with Princess Diana when she married Prince Charles, she just suddenly was thrust into the global sort of spotlight, became one of the most recognised people on the planet. Now, I think that probably is a destiny that awaits Kate, but William's very keen that it will be done on her terms. There are similarities between Kate Middleton and Diana. I mean, the most fundamental one being that they've both chosen to opt into one of the most wacky families in Britain. And I don't think anyone would tell me off for saying that. Being a royal, getting into the goldfish bowl that is the household, my goodness, you'd have to really love the person that asked you to get in there with them.
In 2010 came the news that the British public had been waiting for. Prince William had proposed to Kate Middleton during a trip to Kenya, and she had accepted.
Flying himself into the land his family have worked for generations. Ian Craig's plane touches down in Lewa, the romantic hideaway Prince William chose to make his proposal. Acutely aware of William's desire for privacy, family friend Craig played host to the couple when they wanted to come to Kenya.
What we know about the engagement was that William whisked Kate off to his favourite part of the world, Kenya, where he went when he was on a gap year. Took her off, hid the ring in his rucksack and waited for the opportunity to sort of finally, after all these years, pop the question. Now, Kate subsequently said that she wasn't expecting it. If Kate didn't see William's question coming, then I would question her entire... I don't know what planet she's been living on. I mean, frankly, everybody was waiting for the moment. I recently found out through palace staff that they were convinced that this was the holiday where William was finally going to pop the question. They were all on standby to announce when they got back.
And you produced the ring?
Yeah.
There and then?
I did, yeah. I'd been carrying it around with me in my rucksack for about 3 weeks before that, and I literally would not let it go. Everywhere I went, I was keeping hold of it because I knew this thing, if it disappeared, I'd be in a lot of trouble. And yeah, because I planned it, it went fine. As you know, you'll hear a lot of horror stories about proposing and things going horribly wrong. It went really, really well, and yeah, I was really pleased that she said yes.
The news of their engagement was met with enormous joy by the royal family.
It's the most brilliant news, and I'm just so happy for both of them. They are so happy, I mean, it's wicked.
So maybe we just ask your reaction to the wedding, please, sir?
Obviously thrilled, thank you very much. Practicing for long enough.
As you know, Catherine and Prince William have been going out together for quite a number of years, which is great for us because we've got to know William really well. We all think he's wonderful, and we're extremely fond of him. They make a lovely couple, they're great fun to be with, and we've had a lot of laughs together. We wish them every happiness for the future.
One delightful aspect of the engagement was that Prince William gave Kate the ring his mother had been given by Prince Charles at the time of their engagement.
I think it was very telling that he chose to give Kate Middleton his mother's engagement ring, and he said, I want my mother to be part of this, to be present. Not in a sinister way, of course not the ghost at the feast, but there to enjoy the celebrations and the fun of it all, of a great occasion. And I think people are very well aware of the background, and they certainly have a great deal of sympathy, and they're almost willing them to be happy, because he particularly has had difficulties in his life, but he's come through them, and because of his mother's influence on the upbringing, which she made as normal as possible, I think he's grown up in an extraordinarily down-to-earth manner.
I think what it means for William is a far more sort of intimate, has a far more intimate meaning. Prince William will rarely ever talk about his mother publicly. He will very, very rarely do anything to kind of draw comparisons with him and his mother. And certainly he hates the thought that Kate might be seen as the new Princess Diana. But his decision to give her his mother's engagement ring, I thought, was very significant, because it sort of showed that William wanted his mother on his big day to be right there at the very heart of what was going on. And actually it was quite, you know, in a non sort of soppy way, I thought it was quite touching that he chose to give them that ring.
Kate Middleton and Prince William married on the 29th of April 2011 at Westminster Abbey in London. The glittering occasion was witnessed and watched by billions of people around the world, a spectacular event that has rightfully earned its place in British history.
This is an absolutely extraordinary royal wedding, because for the first time in centuries, a future king is going to marry a woman who is neither a member of royalty, a foreign royal house, or British aristocracy. He's going to marry what is called a commoner in this country, an ordinary person. But I don't believe she is an ordinary person. She is probably a good example of one of the best things that the royal family has done for years.
The day of the wedding was a truly magnificent spectacle. Thousands flocked to London to soak in the atmosphere of excitement and genuine joy, and a real sense of pride and patriotism swept the nation.
What a fabulous day to be here in London. The entire world is watching. Something like 2 billion people watch this on television, on the internet, more than any other event, forget royal event, any event in history, tuned in to watch William and Kate get married today. It's a really exciting atmosphere here. I think people are very proud to be English. You're seeing a lot of nationalism, a lot of Union Jacks displayed everywhere, and of course the large contingent of Americans and people from all over the world who have come to celebrate this very, very special couple.
I have with me Paddy Harvison, who is Communications Secretary at Clarence House, who's the man absolutely at the centre of these last few months of preparations and planning. How are you feeling today? How's it all
Very
gone?
excited, yeah, and relaxed. I think the planning's gone well. We're all here, the crowds are here, the weather's holding on, so it's fantastic.
And tell me about the Prince. How's he doing this morning?
He's great. I mean, you know, he's had breakfast with his brother and their friends, and I was with him last night. We were in the press office at Clarence House, and he rang up, said, I want to go outside and meet the crowd. So we all piled out, and it was just fantastic, a lovely spontaneous thing. He wanted to go and say thank you to everyone for coming along and queuing up overnight. So he's in great form.
As the British public filled the streets of London to share this historic event, the ceremony boasted a star-studded lineup. As Prince William made his way to Westminster Abbey, he was no doubt lifted by thousands of cheering bystanders, greeting and supporting one of the future kings of England. As Kate Middleton emerged for the first time in her wedding dress, the world was looking at a young woman who had been working hard to prepare herself for royal life.
There's a veil, and there is Kate Middleton. We can see that the train of the dress helped into the rear of the vehicle, lace surrounding Kate Middleton's neck and the veil. A great view there of the proud father, Mike Middleton, as he adjusts his jacket, a reassuring pat on the arm for his daughter.
Lily of the Valley on his lapel.
Last night, Catherine Middleton spent the night surrounded by her family in a hotel they'd booked out, full of love and warmth, and we know that Princess Diana had her dinner on her tray along the road in Clarence House with Her Majesty the Queen Mother, but a woman who was in her 80s, you know, pretty old, and alone, not with her parents, not with her sisters. And of course, all that makes a difference. And of course, Diana was so young, 20, and you have Kate Middleton, who's nearly 10 years older, well-educated, very stable, very confident. I think this morning we saw a bride who's going to be very happy in this royal family.
Everybody standing here behind us, the million people lining the route, all wanted that shot of the dream princess.
Yeah.
And we've only seen a glimpse so far of what she will
But
be.
she hasn't let us down, has she?
But absolutely, she hasn't let us down.
This is when the British come to their own. We have all the equipment, we have the household cavalry, we have the wonderful carriages, we have those ancient Rolls Royces, and there's a great spirit here, a spirit I think you could say was evocative of 1981 and the wedding of Prince William's parents, Charles and Diana.
Yeah.
There's a real enthusiasm for it.
She is wearing brand Alexander McQueen. It is a wedding dress that has been designed, as was speculated, by Sarah Burton. So if you imagined a fairy tale princess and her dress, is that the picture you had in your mind? I think perhaps it might have been.
It is the sight, after all these months of build-up and speculation, that many have been longing for. And she's taking a moment to give the crowd a wave.
The team have said that the dress epitomises timeless British craftsmanship by drawing together talented and skilled workmanship from across the United Kingdom.
wilt thou love her, comfort her, honour and keep her, in sickness and in health, and forsaking all other keep thee only unto her, so long as ye both shall live?
I will.
I will. It was very clever of Catherine Middleton, who has done nothing to shock or surprise us, no bad leaks, no bad stories. This is a dress she could have almost worn in her local parish church out in the country. A beautiful dress, but nothing that will frighten the horses, nothing that will stun people. And she looked beautiful and very confident.
The ceremony was a truly joyous event. As Kate Middleton stepped out of Westminster Abbey, wife to the future king, she was officially entering a powerful family, each member of which holds Kate in very high regard, recognizing her natural ability to support William in his life of duty and service to the nation. As Buckingham Palace was surrounded by thousands of cheering onlookers, they finally got to witness the first public kiss between Prince William and Kate Middleton.
That was the kiss that everybody wanted.
And there was no prompting or persuasion needed.
No.
The wedding of Prince William and Kate Middleton was one that will go down in British history as a most extraordinary event. It was viewed by billions of people around the world. Given that many British royal marriages have not had their fairy tale endings, William and Kate will be truly determined to make this royal marriage one that will survive and thrive. On the 3rd of December 2012, Clarence House announced that the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge were expecting their first child. However, the announcement did not go according to plan.
Kate was forced to announce prior to being 12 weeks pregnant that she was in fact expecting because she was hospitalized for very, very severe morning sickness. She suffers for something called hyperemesis gravidarum, which is a very somewhat rare form of extreme morning sickness. This goes way beyond the typical nausea and discomfort that most women feel. This is very extreme, where the mother-to-be is unable to keep down any solids or even sometimes liquids. It can be quite serious both for mother and baby.
Obviously, there'd been an awful lot of anticipation as when Kate was going to announce that she was pregnant. I mean, in fact, I think the announcement was suggested for about 6 months beforehand. Everyone was writing in the papers that she was pregnant. The palace had put out the official announcement as she was en route to the hospital because she'd had problems with the pregnancy, and it was felt that William and Kate didn't want to even tell the Queen or Prince Charles that she was pregnant until they were absolutely certain everything was okay. So that's what happened. The actual announcement happened because she was feeling unwell and was taken to hospital.
William and Kate had talked at length about how they wanted to make this announcement to the world, and it certainly wasn't going to be this way and at that stage in the pregnancy. Most celebrities, particularly royals, wait until that first trimester is finished before they make any happy announcements.
The Duchess was admitted to St Mary's Hospital in London in the early stages of labour on the morning of the 22nd of July 2013 and gave birth to a baby boy weighing 8 pounds and 6 ounces at 4:24 p.m. that same day. Kensington Palace announced that the baby would be named George Alexander Louis.
Well, the birth of Prince George was really like a national celebration. It felt like a national holiday. There was excitement in the air all around the country. It very much reminded me of the feeling of the royal wedding day when William and Kate got married. Everyone was universally happy. Everyone was constantly checking the news feeds on their phone and on the television in order to see, waiting for William and Kate to come out from the hospital for the first time, holding the new baby prince.
Well, actually, I've covered the royal family for 25 years, and the excitement around the birth of Prince George has surpassed most of the things that I'd covered, actually, even the royal weddings. And it was a huge bun fight, if you like, outside the Lindo wing of the St Mary's Hospital, Paddington. There were hundreds of journalists there, as well as camera crews and members of the public.
Kate looked extraordinary. She didn't look as though she'd been pregnant at all as she came out, having given birth just hours earlier. And William got the baby in the car seat into the back of the Range Rover, and off they went. But it was a very, very happy day.
They're very much hands-on parents. I mean, William made it very clear when George was born that he wanted to be a hands-on parent. He took time off to spend with George and Kate. They didn't have a nanny straight away. They were very anti having an extended staff to look after their children, look after them. But I think as time has gone on, they've realised they do need that extra help. They can't just rely upon, say, Carol, Kate's mother, and other members of the family. They do need that because they're very much in the public eye.
Well, William and Kate, as parents, we know are very structured. From what we've heard coming out of the palace, Prince George is on a very strict schedule that never deviates. You know, he has his meals at a certain time, his tea, goes to bed at a certain time, his naps. Everything is regimented. They have a nanny from Spain who is a very thorough and organized young woman, no nonsense, and that is how George is being raised.
William, in particular, wants to be a hands-on parent. Kate, too, doesn't really want to pass on the responsibility of motherhood either. But, you know, when you're in the royal family, when you're in the public eye, it's very, very difficult to do everything. And I think that even Kate and William have found that, and so they are now realising that it's important to have the extra help that they require.
Given that Kate Middleton was an outsider coming into the royal family, there is no question that she would have had to make a good impression on Queen Elizabeth. Her Majesty had suffered through 3 of her 4 children being divorced in quick succession, with the ensuing public humiliation and distress. Her Majesty must have been very keen to ensure that her grandson would find someone with stickability and a devotion to duty as steadfast as her own.
Well, the Queen wears 2 hats, doesn't she? One of them being a crown. As Queen, she's obviously thrilled, I'm sure, that Prince William is in a happy marriage, that the heir is born in Prince George. That's the role, to make sure that the line of succession is secured. But as a grandmother and a great-grandmother, I'm sure she's absolutely thrilled with the way that the William and Kate are in love and they're enjoying a happy marriage together. It's very stable.
Queen Elizabeth is probably a tough person to impress, and I can only imagine the nerves that Kate must have felt being a commoner and meeting the Queen for the first time. She didn't come from the aristocratic class that would have perhaps already met the Queen at various occasions, and certainly had family members who had. Kate came in completely from the outside into this very tight-knit royal circle. To her great credit, Queen Elizabeth appears to have also learned from the lessons of Diana and really welcomed Kate into the family in a way that I don't think Diana was ever exactly welcomed. And Kate was given a lot of support by royal staff and royal household as she grew into the role of being a duchess, of being a princess. They gave her time and space and resources in order to help and support her in that role, and it's done wonders.
She always used to say that it was important that her grandchildren, particularly William and Harry, enjoy a long courtship so that they people coming into the royal family understand the intricacies and difficulties of being a member of the royal family. And I think that that has certainly paid off in the case of William and Kate. They're a stable, happy family. They represent what is good about marriage and what is good about having an extended family. And the royal family themselves, that is part of their role. And I'm sure the Queen is delighted with that.
Queen Elizabeth is said to be very fond of Kate Middleton. She likes her British sensibility. She likes her middle-class values. She likes that she's close to her family. And Kate has never tried to garner extra attention for herself. There's nothing flashy or showy. Kate toes the company line all the time. And that's something that Queen Elizabeth very much wanted from Diana, which didn't happen. She wanted from Sarah Ferguson, which didn't happen, but has very much so happened with Kate Middleton. There are lots of people who believe Kate is a special favorite of the Queen's because of the way she continuously, consistently supports the family, supports William, and never seems to put a step wrong.
So it seems that Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge, has the utmost respect for and from the Queen. But how do the British media and the public view Kate?
We get the impression, I think, from the media that Kate is very careful, she dresses very conservatively, that she's not going to put her foot wrong. In fact, she'd prefer not to do anything than put her foot wrong, which I do think is probably correct. I personally think that she should be a bit more outgoing, a bit more adventurous, and try really to expand her role and her interests, because if you think at Princess Diana, she had hundreds of charities and organisations that she was patron of and supported. Kate has only a handful. I understand that she wants to spend more time with those and more time with her family, but I think it would probably help if she was a bit more flamboyant.
Given that Princess Diana was such an avid supporter of hundreds of worthy causes around the world, supporting charities is an aspect of life that has been ingrained into Prince William from a very early age.
Prince William is involved with quite a few charities. One in particular, he's been involved in AIDS work and AIDS charities since he was very young. And of course, that came from a deep commitment that his mother Diana had to the cause. Prince William is also involved in several charities related to Africa. You know, Africa was very much a part of his experience between high school and university, and he went out there and had a gap year, as they call it, and really fell in love with the country. So he and Harry both actually have been involved in several charities in Africa as well. William is also involved very much so with a charity called Centrepoint, which is an organization that works to help the homeless. You know, Princess Diana originally kind of got both William and Harry interested in this subject by introducing them and taking them out to meet and talk to homeless people. She always wanted them to see there was another side to their very gilded life in the palace. And since her untimely death, William has continued to be active and involved in Centrepoint. He's even spent the night out on the streets. That's something that he's passionate about, that he cares about. I think it helps to give him some perspective in the midst of his very often glamorous life.
In early 2014, it was confirmed that Prince William and Kate Middleton, along with Prince George, would be touring Australia and New Zealand.
The trip to Australia was truly amazing, actually, in terms of the response. I think that they certainly dubbed Prince George the Republican Slayer, because in terms of popularity of the monarchy, it soared. I was covering it for one of the leading networks in Australia, and they were doing hour-long specials live from the events, such as at Manly Beach, when they arrived there, when there were thousands and thousands of people just there to see them. The truth of it is, though, is that they were the star attraction and have been a star attraction for some time in Australia and New Zealand. People love the connection with the royal family in that part of the world, because they're not only celebrity, but there's a connection with them. They're technically one day going to be the King and Queen of Australia. So it was a huge event. And I went to a reception before that at Kensington Palace, where William and Kate came out, and they were introducing the media that were travelling to the little George, and he was in great form. And they were quite nervous, I think, Kate in particular, about the reception they were going to receive. how big would it be? And they knew it was going to be huge. But I don't think even when they got there, they expected it to be as huge as it was. They went to the Taronga Zoo in Sydney, which is a fabulous zoo. It overlooks the Sydney Harbour, and it was a brilliant engagement. They went there primarily as the main engagement for Prince George. He was going to be filmed and photographed in the Bilby area, which is a compound. A bilby is a bit like seemed to me a bit like a cross between a rabbit and a rat. It was just an Australian animal, and he was taken by that.
Invite you to unveil the flag. The Prince George Bilby exhibit. Now, we do have a small gift for Prince George to acknowledge his time here. This is a bilby, an Australian bilby, with a Taronga Zoo, Bilby and Kate. Just as a reminder for when he's a bit older.
Their relationship has been played out so vividly in the public spotlight, and they've had to deal with the highs and lows of a relationship any couple must go through. But there is no doubting the sincerity and solidarity of their partnership in all its forms.
They are an incredibly down-to-earth couple. I remember meeting them together as a couple for the very first time on the day the palace announced that they were getting married. And a few journalists were invited to go to St James's Palace and have a cup of tea with them. Well, that's not an offer you get very often, so of course we jumped at the invite and took tea with them. And I think everyone was terribly nervous, not least William and Kate. I mean, it was the first time they had met the British media. You know, I'd seen them at nightclubs before. I'd spent my time, you know, watching them at polo matches and charting this amazing relationship. But the first time really to actually sit down and talk with them, I remember Kate being very nervous, but incredibly sweet and kind and interested in what we were doing and how we were covering the story. And they both just seemed so well matched. You could see it in their body chemistry even at that stage, and on a moment, you know, fraught with nerves. They were about to meet the world's press. All the paparazzi and the photographers, rather, were waiting next door to take their pictures. But even under that sort of pressure, they gravitated towards each other. I remember William having his hand in the small of Kate's back, you know, guiding her, making sure she was all right. And I think that's what you've seen over the years. You know, he has wanted to just make sure that she is comfortable, that she feels confident and happy in what she's doing. And as he said in that engagement interview, and I think it was such a poignant and important thing that he said, that he waited so long to propose, not because he wasn't sure. I think he probably had been sure for a long time, but it was so that he could give Kate the opportunity to see exactly what married life would be like and get out if it wasn't what she wanted. And, you know, when you see them together, you do see a couple genuinely in love. They're very happy together. They work well together. They're a team.
It is no secret that William and Kate's desire for privacy is paramount. Normally, they would have taken residence at Kensington Palace in London, but the couple felt there would have been a significant lack of privacy had they taken residence at the palace. They would have been easily overlooked, and right in the heart of the London buzz, with a much higher chance of the paparazzi being able to photograph them in their private moments. They very quickly accepted when Queen Elizabeth offered them residence at Anmer Hall, a fantastic Georgian house in the Norfolk countryside, close to Sandringham.
Neither William and Kate are city people. They love the countryside, they love the outdoors. So when the Queen decided to gift Anmer Hall, which is a beautiful property on the Sandringham estate, to William for his 30th birthday, they knew that it was the perfect getaway. It was going to be their country bolt hole, and they've spent the best part of 2 years and about £2 million, in fact, doing that property up and making it a retreat. It's a fortress. You can't get anywhere near the property. Security is paramount, and there's a huge amount of space. And most importantly, they are not spied on. They can get away there, and they love the countryside. They're happier there than they are here in London.
On the 8th of September 2014, Clarence House announced that the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge were expecting the birth of their second child. But again, the announcement did not go to plan. As with her first pregnancy, Kate suffered from severe morning sickness, otherwise known as hyperemesis gravidarum, and she was forced to cancel a number of public engagements.
Again, you know, it's not what William and Kate wanted. They very much wanted the pregnancy to kind of go a little bit farther along before they confirmed to the world. But again, their hand was forced because of Kate's morning sickness.
Congratulations.
Hi,
Congratulations. How's Catherine feeling?
She's feeling okay, thanks. It's been a tricky few days, week or so, but obviously we're immensely thrilled. It's great news. Early days, but I'm hoping things settle down and she feels a bit better. But it's important that we all focus on the big news and the big international and domestic things that are going on at the moment. So that's where my sort of thoughts are at the moment. I'm going to go back and look after her now.
It's early days, but you must be very excited.
Thank you.
Some women get morning sickness not until, 6 or 7 weeks in, but Kate seems to get it almost immediately and to a very great degree. So the fact that she was forced to start canceling appearances meant that the palace was forced to confirm the second baby was on the way.
Prince William continued to fulfill public engagements, and his return from a diplomatic mission to China heralded the imminent arrival of the new royal baby, and the world's media set up camp around Buckingham Palace and St Mary's Hospital as international interest grew. On the 2nd of May 2015, at 8:34 a.m. local time, the Duchess gave birth to a daughter who weighed 8 pounds and 3 ounces. The following evening, iconic London landmarks such as Tower Bridge, the London Eye, and the Trafalgar Square fountains were illuminated pink to mark the birth of the princess. Later that day, the palace announced she was to be named Charlotte Elizabeth Diana. The birth of the princess was cause for national celebration, a little sister for Prince George, the daughter Prince William had always wanted, and the granddaughter Prince Charles had always hoped for. Alongside a busy family life, William and Kate decided to establish their own ventures. With his love of flying, Prince William quickly took up pilot duties for East Anglian Air Ambulance. Kate also followed the tradition of supporting worthwhile charitable enterprises, particularly those close to her personal interests.
Well, Kate's been very careful about the charities that she's chosen. She didn't rush to take on, handfuls of charities. She handpicked them. There wasn't a huge number of them, and they were charities that really meant things to her.
So Kate set out her stall that she wants to support in the first instance children, so she's supporting some hospice charities, each the East Anglia Children's Hospices. She's equally decided to be a volunteer scout, so supporting children out and about, enjoying country pursuits as she does.
And actually she's been ahead of the curve on most of the choices that she's made. She's put children's hospices on the map, and she's also done a huge amount of good for mental health. It's another cause that she's very much behind. So she will know how important she is as a patron to those charities, to put them in that international spotlight, and she won't want to spend too long away from them.
She's also been involved in action on addiction, so she's saying that she wants to help people. She thinks that addiction is the root to quite a lot of society's ills, be it children or their parents, and so she wants to get involved in that. And also, because she studied history of art and is a keen artist and photographer, there's her patronage of the National Portrait Gallery and other artistic pursuits. And she's mixed them a little bit, so she also supports a cause called the Art Room, which helps children, gives children therapy through the medium of art.
Hello, what's your name? Hello, very nice to meet you. These are your friends. Oh, yeah. And what have you made? This is a card. Yeah. It's a very big card, isn't it?
Their third child, Prince Louis Arthur Charles, was born on the 23rd of April 2018. he remains 5th in the line of succession after his sister, Princess Charlotte. The couple have since moved their family to Windsor, with George, Charlotte and Louis all attending Lambrook School.
William said to a friend recently that his priorities were family and flying, in that order, and I think the emphasis on those two Fs, family and flying, is exactly where it is for both of them.
William and Kate chose Adelaide Cottage as their new family home. Situated on the Windsor estate, the quaint 4-bedroom cottage holds close ties to the life of Princess Margaret and her former lover Peter Townsend, who occupied the property during the 1950s. The loss of Prince Philip, the longest-serving consort in British history, left the royal family with a large hole which needed to be filled.
He was, I think, a superb consort because he was so different, and I think they made a tremendous team together. Clearly, the Queen, as she said on their golden wedding anniversary, my stay and support all these years, it was a very close relationship, but it was a wonderful team together, I always thought.
Since the Duke of Edinburgh's death in 2021, William and Kate have stepped up to fulfill even more diplomatic and charitable engagements. The public have seemingly welcomed the couple's more central position in the royal family and admired William and Kate's devotion to royal life. Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, also announced their decision to step back as senior members of the royal family and carve out a different life for themselves in America. Despite his beloved brother no longer being by his side, Prince William continues to show a strong dedication towards his role as a senior royal. The very recent death of Her Majesty the Queen has left the royal family devastated.
A part of our lives that was taken for granted as being permanent is no longer there. And in that sense, there is an enormous shift in the world around us.
But the monarchy continues on in the face of grief, and Prince William and Kate, alongside other senior royals, quickly return to their duties and responsibilities after a period of mourning. The couple's stability and dedication to service has caused them to be likened to Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip.
I think that William and Kate mirror, in many ways, a young Queen and Philip. They're not so young now, but in that respect, they will certainly give the monarchy a sense of modernity that is probably needed to help with its continuity.
Prince William, alongside Kate, will no doubt adopt his beloved grandmother's unwavering strength and loyalty to royal duties and become an even greater presence in public life.
It's going to be very difficult a very difficult act for Prince Charles to follow. Obviously, he's a much older man than the Queen was when she came to the throne. So whatever happens, he's not going to have a long reign, and that's going to be difficult for him. But he's known this for a long time, and I think people are now going to start to be looking at William and Kate for the future. And I think most people think that William and Kate will make a great team and be a great king and queen.
The world will be watching as William and Kate help King Charles III lead an ever-evolving yet constant monarchy. Ever since being pictured together for the first time back in 2004 on the snowy slopes of Closters, William and Kate's relationship has been under the public microscope. They have fulfilled their roles and responsibilities with the growing admiration of the British public and beyond. They have produced 3 healthy and happy children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis.
I think Kate and William have a good chance of making this work. They are both very committed to the monarchy and making kind of a united front, whatever personal problems they might have. Kate has proven herself to be a team player. She's proven herself to be discreet. She's also proven that she's willing to put her own interests behind the interests of her husband.
One of the secrets of the success of their marriage is that they do seem much more equal than, say, for instance, Charles and Diana. You had a situation when they got married where Diana eclipsed her husband. People are actually genuinely interested in meeting William because he looks so much like his mother and he is this key senior player and young and fun and quite dynamic.
I think Diana, Princess of Wales, would certainly have approved of Kate Middleton. I think she would have liked her style. She would have liked the fact that she has stood up for herself in this relationship. She will see her as a very adequate foil for her eldest son.
Over many years, the world has watched them transform from a young couple, sharing a home at university together, to role models in the modern monarchy. The Prince and Princess of Wales make an enormous difference through their charitable pursuits and royal responsibilities. They continue to inspire generations, both young and old, and touch people's lives all across the Commonwealth.
Their relationship has grown out of being just William and Kate. And I think that that's something that throughout their married life, as much as they can, they will try and retain. And if they do, then the prospects for them staying together for a long time will be very good.
The task ahead of them is great, and they show every sign of having the character, personality, tenacity, and skills to stay with the job, surviving and thriving, whilst keeping alive the values and traditions of the British royal family in the modern world. The future shines bright for William and Kate, the Prince and Princess of Wales.